Awesome. That was just a brief little introduction about statements, but hopefully that answers your question where you have the finance lead.
Yes.
Cool. I think we're getting close to lunchtime. Before we do lunch, let's see if we can just pop around the room and see if we can say maybe something that we got out of this morning's class, and then we'll go ahead. Are there any questions online, Shannon?
No, not right now.
Okay, great. If you're okay, let's go ahead and just kind of pop around the room and just mention something that we either got out of this morning's session or whatever, okay? Wayne, can we start with you? Just something that you got out of this morning's session or thought was fun or whatever. I know I'm kind of springing it on you.
The depth of where you can take it, like the Adilas.biz project, like down to the nuts and bolts or screws really, all the way to the millions of dollars they were tracking. It's pretty amazing to me.
Awesome. There are tons of options that way. And I need to put this little disclaimer in there. We can track your data, but if you really want to play to that level, you have to make sure that that's economical for you, okay? Like, we can technically track it, but at some point there has to be a give and take between like how much time does it take me to actually record that versus how much am I actually going to gain and or save and or benefit from it. So there is a give and take on that. But that's just a small disclaimer if you will. Shannon, let's go to you.
Actually, I was thinking the exact same thing. It's so impressive to see how people use it, and it's so neat. I feel like it gives you such a better comprehension and understanding of the capabilities and possibilities it has when you see how other people have used it for their industry. It really is neat.
Awesome, awesome. Cheryl, let's go to you.
I keep coming up with some interesting little fields or something, and I think, oh, I could use that for this. Oh, I could use that for this.
Think of it as a tool, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Like literally, this is your toolbox. You just open it up and you basically go like this. You say, which tool do I want to use, okay? Do I know that they automatically have certain functionality? Oh, that's going to go perfect under customers. I'm just going to change the name, and it's good to go. Oh, I'm going to use the flex grid. And we will get in more to flex grid this afternoon, I promise, okay? Flex grid and elements of time. But like, you pick your tools and then you start doing your jobs. But there's tons of tools. There's tons of tools out there. Awesome. Any other comments that you had, Cheryl?
No, I was just...
Okay. Sherry O, let's go to you.
All the tools that Adilas has had, I have had the opportunity to work with in multiple different industries. I've worked with medical marijuana inside Adilas. I've worked with the auto industry inside Adilas. I've worked with a home building company out of Adilas.
Modular homes.
Modular homes, storage units, rentals. I mean, I've kind of had a crash course of different industries, but all the principles and concepts are the same. And the usage of all the Adilas tools makes it possible. Of course, creature of habit, I worked with these guys who was spoiled with the auto industry. I moved in and helped a client of Adilas that had 7 or 8 different companies. A finance company, he opened up an auto company, a rental, storage units, modular homes.
An RV park.
RV park, yeah, home park, things like that. So, needless to say, I was thrown into that with that handful of companies, but I could work around within every single company inside Adilas. Same principles, same concepts, just different companies. So it was quite different. Back then when I was doing that, Adilas was implementing a whole bunch of new things. Needless to say, having that many companies, my hands were full. So when they would implement something new, I'd get an email and whatnot, but I didn't get to go play because I was pretty busy taking care of all the other companies. But I've had that opportunity to work within different industries. Your principles and concepts are the same. All your financials, your principles and concepts are the same. So I've enjoyed it. Of course, new industries makes the wheels start spinning and then the ears start smoking. Because like Miss Mom says, oh, I can use that field for that. And I've gotten real good with the flex tie-ins and things like that, depending on what industry I'm working in. and what I utilize those fields for. So it's endless what you can do inside Atlas.
It's also repetitive though.
What you do for one, you do for the other, but what you can do with inside your company is endless. It's kind of your little baseball field, and Atlas created it, but you create your company and your visuals and feel and touch the way you want it. So
We actually call that concept virtual world building, okay? So we go to the level of like, what is your world? How do you want it to look? What do you want it to skin it like, okay? So like if this little picture right here, is it green? Is it orange? Is it small? Is it big? Is it multi-leveled? Is it like, what's your world? And you kind of you actually virtually build your world using these concepts. We give you a world, you determine how many locations. We give you 12 different groups or tools to kind of play with, and then you start stacking different little things inside of those little pieces. Within that, we have the data model. That's where we've talked all these cups and buckets and stuff. We run the whole thing over time, and when you're all done, you end up with a thing called the story, or virtual world building. So it's kind of an interesting concept on that way. Awesome. Cherio, anything else?
no, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciated your comments. There's a little bit of history there, too. That was good. It's good to hear. David, how about you?
It's been a very interesting year in Atlas. I really like the idea that whoever works in any industry, and you only need anyone, and you're done. That's the great thing. You don't have to work with one program instead of multiple different programs where you have to enter there. But Atlas, you get it once and you're done. And you be able to edit anything.
That is awesome. It scares me sometimes to say, oh, it can work for any program or any industry. I would say that we could, like any industry, we could probably knock out 80% of their needs immediately. There's a lot of little custom pieces that we don't do, but right out of the box, without any custom work, other than having a good person to help set it up, I can probably tackle 80% of your needs and capture your data for you, okay? And then as far as how you want it to look and how you want it to feel, we actually call that skinning the engine. So just as a for example, real quick, look at this little piece right here, okay? Choose your flavor, pick your tools, skin your engine, what does it got to look like, and then build your world, okay? That's kind of where we're kind of headed with that type of thing. And if you dream it up, we'll wire it up. So like, we've already got all of these tools and features, and they work really well together, but they might need a little bit of custom adaptation to kind of make it, or possibly even be like, you know what, that was way too complicated. I still want to use that engine, but I want it super simple, like a motorcycle or something like that. Or I want a whole fleet of spaceships, and here's how I want to run it. Like, you get to determine what you're going to do. So that's where we're kind of trying to head with the whole concept and model.
It'll be very attractive to many other clients that they'll be able to add on to it.
Correct.
Add their code on to it.
Correct. Yes. We are totally planning that there will be multiple companies that will end up creating their own little product and be like, hey, we can bolt on to Adilas, and then we can do this, and we're going to say, yay, great. Like, our whole model is going to be very open that way as far as accepting different people, outside coders, using the API, meaning like different people that are actually going to be able to code and then eventually get information back into that Adilas engine. And then that way, the whole main process is still kind of there. So,
Yeah, I understand all that now.
okay, good, good.
Talking about it.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for some of these pieces. They get on the stove for a while. Okay, they boil for a while. Good, good, good. Our goal is basically to kind of say we want to be the engine and the organizing piece that kind of helps them organize and function with their data. Okay, what it looks like and how they use it, that depends on the client. That's our plan.
Yeah, that makes sense. Give them a plain Jane car and let them add the custom windows, tint the windows, stuff like that.
Exactly, exactly, yep. Here's what Adilas is right now, okay? We provide a minivan. It's very functional, but not necessarily the world's most fashionable type thing, okay? But if you wanted the rock star car, you wanted something slick, you know, it's going to take a little bit of custom tweaking on the top, but the engine is still going to get you from 0 to 60 in whatever.
5.2 seconds, buddy.
Perfect. Thanks, Ario. Awesome. David, do you have any other comments or anything? Okay, great. Nick, let's go to you.
I obviously, ever since the Windows platform came out, it's simplified, most of my concerns for a long time. I mean, the old DOS systems were pretty tough to try to get it.
Tab, F5.
And now, thanks to Bill Gates, all of this is pretty, once you've been in a system that does it, you just need to learn the details of how to get here as opposed to somewhere else. And it's just nice to know that this option is available, but I haven't seen an accounting package yet that doesn't offer the statements.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's,
There are thousands of products out there that do tons of different pieces of the puzzle. One of the things that Adilas actually does that makes it kind of fun is, for just a second, I'm going to go right here for just a second, okay? I'm going to jump into this one. This one has a little help file and a little document, okay? What do you get with Adilas? Okay, this is a small version of it, but I'm going to go ahead and kind of blow it up into a bigger piece. So these are the different pieces of the puzzle: sales and inventory tracking, customer management. This deals with statements. There's tons of different corporations out there that do these different things. The one thing that's kind of fun, this is what you get with Adilas. You get a package deal. So a system that actually allows for interactivity and different things to kind of interact between each other. So I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, I like it. I'm just saying it's you kind of get used to expecting, once you've been in a system, that you can send statements if you find that it works for you.
Sure.
Historically, I've never used statements all that much because it's too easy to ignore a statement, but it's pretty hard to ignore a phone call if you have the ability, especially
Sure, and that's totally your
your
style.
customers. It was
Yeah.
like, granted, it's really nice. I could have sent you a statement, but I want my check and I want it right now.
Yeah. You know what? That's very important. And inside of Adilas, this whole section right here with the CRM, the customer relationship, we had this. I'm going to scroll up just a second. If you had a customer, you could easily make them a statement. Okay. You could easily log a note. You could call and then log the note. You could create a follow-up. You could even set an appointment. Like, there's tons of different ways. What do you need? What do you need? We constantly ask that question. What do you need? What do you want? And then we
I
kind of
like
let
the
you
idea
play.
of having a log in the system, such that before you make a call, you can check the log and make sure somebody didn't call yesterday and you get irritated client and call them 2 days in a row.
Correct.
Where most systems, you maintain a log somewhere else because the accounting package doesn't allow that. So I think that kind of having everything in one place is really a nice idea.
It literally, what happens inside of Adilas is you're able to do this, okay? Your inventory that came in, you now have a full track of where it came in. Who do you still owe, okay? You also, who bought that inventory, what do they still owe you? Did I follow up on it? How does that filter up into the balance sheet and the P&L? Like, because it's all interconnected, you can do things that other people can't, okay? It's not that they couldn't do it, but their systems are just like this. Oh, I'm just inventory tracking system, okay? I can't go to the accounting level unless I dump or unless I do something else like that. But because it's all together, that's why you actually get a piece of that puzzle. It's kind of fun. Awesome. Very good. Very good. Paul, I wanted to save you for the last because you actually have asked some great questions this morning. I really appreciate it. I think that you've been having fun, but as far as like just from your questions, I really wanted to comment and say great questions this morning. What kind of comments would you make from this morning?
I'm sitting here thinking about it. And I think that the whole concept of what we talked about with, like Wayne said, with the Belize and how you can go from just a small operation of just selling, like we worked on selling plants, and just getting the inventory in, doing the invoices, making statements, to actually going to the multi-million-dollar project and tracking every little item and making sure that everything's in its place. It's just, it's really cool. I like that a lot, about how you started out, because like I just started yesterday, and already, just by going through it here for a couple hours, you know, I already know so much that can help me. And just watching and going through, it's a lot of knowledge. And like you said, if you go through it and you play with it, when you first did the add a new customer, I had to watch and I didn't know. But now I've been going through it, I've been adding customers and stuff, and it's just, now I can add a customer no problem. And this is, I like that. It's
Every single process inside of Adilas, it may take just a second to kind of learn your process. Some of the processes vary depending on industry. Where do you start? Do you start at the cart or the items, or do you start at the customer? And like eventually you kind of need to connect them, but like we let you start from wherever. So we're not as worried about teaching a physical process, but I loved what Sherry O said. The principles are the exact same. We teach principle after principle after principle, and that's where you get the benefit because, oh, okay, cool. I can get to that even if I have to get to it later. You know, like I can still get to it. That's called principle versus process. Process is step 1, step 2, step 3, done. Step 1, step 2, step 3, done. That's very easy to teach that way, but it also kind of limits you as far as what your availability is. So, awesome. Great comments. Anything else before we close for lunch? Yes, Cheryl.
I was just going to give an example of somebody who's not using Adilas, and I just keep thinking if they had used Adilas, they could have done this. I ordered some herbs, and they didn't give me a discount. So I called them up and said, you didn't give me the discount. They said, no problem, we'll give you the discount. Well, they didn't give me the discount. It had been a week, and so I called back and said, you said you were going to do this. I haven't gotten the discount yet. You know, you haven't refunded me this. And the guy says, oh, okay, well, I'll write down a note, and I'll give it to my supervisor. He said, it'll be done today. 4 days later, they still haven't done it, so I call back. I get somebody else. The gal said, oh, here's what happened. That manager was gone, so I'll just go ahead and do it. Well, 4 days later, I get 2 refunds because nobody had checked. So one manager went to, so they were working on different things. They didn't have any notes that were connecting anybody. This manager just took care of what was on his desk without even looking at me as a customer and know that somebody else was taking care of it. So I called them back and I said, you've given me 2 refunds. And they said, oh, well, we can't refund you anything, so you just get to keep the refunds. I ended up with 2 refunds, and I'm thinking, if they'd have had something like this, first of all, they'd have known, they'd have had all the notes there that they could have read, and second of all, they just could have written a note and said, oh, double refund, and they could have taken care of it all. But it was such a cumbersome thing, they had to go through all these different, this had to go over to here to be approved by this, and this had to be approved by this, and when in the end, they lost money because they couldn't take out my second refund they gave me.
I think that's great. My 2 comments. One, that's called traditional sneaker net or shoes running from place to place, okay, instead of the internet. The other comment is the 2 main pieces that you need to do is catch the data and centralize the data. Once you have those 2 pieces in play, you technically have, the rest of it is all I would call a view or a flavor of what you want to pull back out of that. But if you can catch it and you can centralize it, you can actually win the battle. So those are the pieces of the puzzle we have. Awesome. Great morning session. Let's go ahead and break for lunch.